So now the whips have agreed that the next debates will be on paragraphs 5 of Executive Report number 2, developing the Council's employment offer, and paragraph 13 of that report, the Affordable Housing Programme. So I now call on the Leader of the Council to formally move reception of report number 2 and on Councillor King to move paragraph 5. Councillor Govindia. Thank you. Councillor King.
Formally move paragraph 5. I'm sure it'll be an interesting debate.
Thank you. Now we are moving to speakers. Councillor Cuff.
Thank you. Very pleased to open this, I'm sure will be a very interesting debate. Got the train in this morning to Victoria and arched my neck to the right as I went over the bridge, and I saw a nest of cranes dotting around Battersea Power Station. A day ago I was sauntering around Putney, Upper Richmond Road, and it was very pleasant to see new homes, new architecture, new businesses being developed along and transforming that road. And at the weekend I was popped into the shops at Garrett Lane and looked at the new restaurants, the new businesses, the new retail that Garrett Lane has received and has been transformed by. New jobs, opportunities, prospects, activity. Wandsworth is looking very good. It's faced down the recession and it's come out more confident. 28% uplift in business births over the last 3 years, a 20%, we're in the top 20% for enterprise, and we have an employment rate far higher than the national average and a very low relative unemployment rate. And of course, from all that, you would assume that we can pack our bags up now and go home and everything is done, we have done a good job, and there we are. But of course, that's not the case. We need to look closer at the data, and there is a challenge, and it's a very important challenge, and that is that our youth unemployment is roughly around 5%, is 5% too high. And for us, that is simply not acceptable, even if it was 1%. We must tackle that. It is a social evil that young people cannot find work. And we need to do more to build more homes for them. We need to do more to create more jobs for them. Now, with the previous economic uptick, I think we, as an economy, made a mistake. Rather than, I think, creating a sustainable jobs base in this country, I think we relied too heavily on importing everything from Eastern Europe and other parts of the world, so that the skills came in and we were able to deliver the construction, the delivery that we needed as an economy. But as soon as the economy started to halt or judder, the skills went all the way back out again. And now we find ourselves in a situation in this country where construction is starting to happen again. London's looking rosy. I hope to think that next year we'll see a wider economic uptick across the rest of the country. But the problem is this. The problem is that the skills are not there to provide the construction, to provide the technical skills and know-how to help support that. And there's a concern that that might hold back us as a country from enjoying what should be a period, I hope, of very good economic prosperity over the next 5-10 years, not least in Wandsworth. Someone asked me the other day, what is the role of local government in the 21st century in a global city like London, a city which is driven as much by an international labour force as it is by our own local housing and local social needs. And I think the role is this, if I'm honest. I think it's to use our expertise as a borough, our understanding of the local communities that we live in, the local communities that we engage with, the local communities that we talk to. And it is to be a broker, to be an enabler. The private sector cannot do this. It is our role to do this. And I think that's why these schemes are very, very important. They start to build, they are the building blocks, I suppose, of creating the skills for the future, the skills that this country will need, not just in Wandsworth, but around the rest of the country, I hope, so that when there is an uptick, we are there and ready to enjoy it, and our local people get the most out of it. It's about jobs, it's about creating prosperity, but it's about doing that for the long term, and that's why I think this is a great...
Councillor Carpenter.
Madam Mayor, it's a pleasure to speak in a debate in which there's a measure of agreement across the chamber. We all agree that promoting job opportunities within the borough, particularly for young people in disadvantaged wards, is an urgent priority. On this side of the chamber, we welcome the majority party's belated conversion to the realisation that promoting job opportunities cannot simply be left to the magic of the market. It requires targeted intervention, and we agree that intervention is best targeted at a local level. One of the reasons for the shortcomings of Job Centre Plus is that it is administered centrally. So we welcome the Section 106 interventions to ensure that apprenticeships are created as part of the 9 Elms development, the creation of WorkMatch and the Joint Coordination Unit. We recognise that the bulk of new jobs are created by small and medium enterprises, and we welcome the Council's support for them. This is fully in line with the Labour commitment that an incoming Labour government will cut and then freeze business rates for small and medium-sized businesses. While we recognise that it is logical to target the 9 Elms development opportunities on Queenstown, we should recognise that Latchmere and Roehampton have equal or greater employment problems. The regeneration proposals for Latchmere and Roehampton will generate some job opportunities in the construction phase, but I am concerned that the Roehampton proposals are so narrowly focused on the Alton West estate that wider opportunities will be lost. There is no mention in the proposals of the enormous resource represented by the 9,000 students of Roehampton University. Partnership with the Roehampton University Business School to build a business and innovation centre could provide high-quality jobs in Roehampton. It's initiatives like this which will provide the long-term quality jobs that need to be built into our regeneration plans. Where are the proposals to refurbish Heathmere School and regenerate Petersfield Rise? And what's in it for the residents of Putney Vale and the Lennox? In short, the regeneration proposals are too focused on place and not enough focused on people. But, Madam Mayor, to return to employment, the task of creating 100 jobs for 18 to 24-year-olds in each of Queenstown, Latchmere and Roehampton does appear to be manageable, but it will take a more concerted effort than a jobs fair here or a start-up loan there to achieve it. What is required is a concerted and focused effort over the medium term, and I fear that the Economic Development Office simply does not have the resources to carry such a programme through. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should simply throw council money at job creation, but we should exploit opportunities for partnering with other public agencies, the voluntary sector and the private sector to leverage up the council's contribution. Without modest investment now, we will not get the prize of higher employment, resulting in the double benefit of a higher tax take and a lower benefit bill. If we remain too focused on making savings in council expenditure, we may lose the benefits to the Wandsworth economy of higher employment in the future. In conclusion, Madam Mayor, it would be wise to remember the old saw, Jesus saves, but Moses invests. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Nadelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Those of us that have seen the papers know how much work and at what speed this brokerage has been put into place, how much it is needed, and after being officially open for only 3 weeks has already placed 16 people. I do not have the data for which wards at the moment, but I can absolutely assure you that they're all Wandsworth people. Unemployment is not just about Queenstown, Latchmere and Roehampton, it's about the whole borough, but I would like to specifically talk about Queenstown for now. Queenstown was historically the employer for Wandsworth, with all her industrial sites, the power station, and of course the post office being huge employers. I can remember seeing far more passengers alighting the train at Battersea Park and at Queenstown Road stations than boarding. Last month I had a knock on my door from a former tenant who'd been born in 1943 in my own home address, whose father had worked at the power station, earning just £6.20 a week. He'd moved there from the print works in Battersea Park Road, where he was earning £5.50 a week back in 1958. Back then there was a family of 6 living in my basement level, 2 rooms and a kitchen without a bathroom and an outside loo. An awful lot's changed in Queenstown since that time, but noticeably the conditions of employment and the living standards here have improved year on year. The latest ONS figures for 2012 indicate 12,800 employees in Queenstown. This is down from 14,000 in 2001, although the lowest level of employment was in 2006, when it was just at 11,600, a year after Tony Blair was re-elected. During this period, Queenstown has consistently maintained the biggest concentration of employment in the borough, second only to Putney. Although its proportion of Wandsworth jobs fell 15% in 2001 to 12.5% in 2012, the rest of the borough increased from 93,000 to 104,000. There will undoubtedly have been some recent loss of employment in Queenstown related to the redevelopment of the employment sites. Set against this, current planning consent suggests that 20,000 new jobs in Queenstown over the coming years, around 15,000 of these being related to power station. These are end-use jobs and do not include the construction opportunities, of which we have an expected 20,000 new jobs for the Nine Elms Vauxhall development area. Of course, this is now our current focus. Queenstown students and unemployed have a better chance to gain the skills in the areas of interest or of need. There is a vast variety of posts for many, not just in construction. There's administration, catering, carpentry, pipe fitters. There's one post filled this week for training in driving, followed by a post as a driver for one of the directors of the building sites and for their dignitaries. Guesses for who that one is. The work match is acting as a brokerage between developers and the council. Bearing in mind, you will remember that Section 106 agreement for jobs, apprenticeships and training, which are attached to those planning consents. WorkMatch is working in real time with developers to look forward to when the jobs will be required and the skills required and the methods to gain those skills. By this I mean apprenticeships for those aged between 18 and 25, trainingships, which will come with a better pay, or just CV skills for all ages. The latest job seeker allowance figures for Queenstown for August 2013 are as follows. Job seeker claimants, 436. 90 of these are aged between 18 and 24, and 260 from 25 to 49. 290 of these have been unemployed for up to 12 months. For Roehampton, the claimants figure is 415. 85 aged between 18 and 25, 250 between 25 and 49. 270 of these have been up for up to 12 months. Latchmere's total is 548, 95 aged 18 to 24 and 340 aged 25 to 49. Of these, 350 have been for up to a year. I mention these three most problematic wards. I know the knock-on of this problem from high unemployment. I'm one of the few councillors in the three wards actually living in the ward, and for so many years I have seen firsthand. I see the antisocial behaviour, and sometimes I've been a victim of that. I see the loss, and I feel the loss and the lack of hope as I go through my daily business in that ward on the faces of some of the other residents. I know this can be improved. We all know that work builds confidence and brings hope and aspiration. WorkMatch, as you will recall from the papers earlier, this year will cost £193,000 and will employ a start-up of 5 members. Some of these will be for work assistance and some of them for house to work. They will be liaising directly with developers, other employers, agency partners on one side, with the job centres, schools, colleges and local groups on the other. Oh, there's so much more I could say, so much more. But I think with the work match and the 106 commitments to drive down on our hardest wards, on Wednesday of this week we're holding one in Queenstown, on the 30th of January there's one held in Roehampton. If we can get as many people to go to these, we can get as many people as we can back to work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Ryder.
I'd like firstly to endorse the eloquent case put for WorkMatch by Councillors Cuff and Nardelli, and I'd even endorse the first few sentences of Councillor Carpenter's speech. And I'd really just like to reinforce this, this plea that we use this scheme to find work for our 1,000 youngsters, particularly on trying to get a start in life in Wandsworth. At Nine Elms, we're creating a mini-city which has been created by this council's drive and vision. I think we must ensure that we get the maximum return for that by getting apprenticeships and training schemes for our youngsters. The poor old apprenticeship seems to have gone out of fashion these days. I'm not quite sure why, because I know I started my working life with one, although a long time ago, and it was a great start in life. So I think we do need to ensure that we do get these opportunities for our youngsters so they can become the plasterers and the plumbers and the builders and the bricklayers of tomorrow. And I think Work Match is a fantastic way to do this, and I highly commend it. And on a personal note, I would like to point out that this is probably one of the shortest speeches members have heard, but as it's my maiden speech, I didn't want to incur the ignominy of the red light, so I promise that my next speech will be almost as long as one of Fidel Castro's. So I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryder. Councillor Ben Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I may well follow Councillor Ryder's example, but like Councillor Carpenter and all the councillors from the other side of the chamber who've spoken already, I welcome the paper, the proposals in it. Many of the measures detailed will help those in Wandsworth unfortunate to find themselves out of work, and I'd actually like to pay tribute to the Economic Development Officer and his team for the proactive agenda that they've set out. I think crucially that it's an agenda which recognises that in this climate, as other speakers have noted, neither businesses nor the market alone can do all the work, and initiatives such as Work Match, such as job fairs, the brokerage service, which I'm very pleased to see up and running already, and of course effective partnership working, more effective working with Job Centre Plus, steps towards linking job seekers to job opportunities and to provide the advice and identify the support that those out of work, and hopefully in particular those long-term unemployed, need. It's right that we target the areas of greatest need for these interventions, but I'd be remiss in my duties as a ward councillor, and this council would be remiss in its duties to the whole borough, were we to forget that there are pockets right across the borough where worklessness is a problem, not unique to any one ward, any one estate or locality, even those where they might be most widespread. But in Tooting, I know that there are households, often clusters of households, where worklessness is rife, and where young people think that under the current circumstances, the economic circumstances, even going out looking for work is a waste of their time and energy. And I think everyone here understands that worklessness, even on a fairly small scale, breeds poverty of aspiration, and that's self-perpetuating when it's left unchecked. I was going to mention, Councillor Govindia earlier mentioned today's unemployment figures, and again I think that everyone in the chamber can agree that any positive news on falling unemployment, no matter how small, is a cause for celebration. But here in Wandsworth, just like across the country, we can't be, we can't neglect the scale of that challenge. The nationwide 2.5 million people still unemployed, and Councillor Cuff's already mentioned the 5% of young people here in Wandsworth who are out of work. There are still far too many people looking for far too few jobs here in Wandsworth as well as across the country, and that's really the fundamental problem. So the challenge that's set before the Economic Development Office is great, because helping people to find their route into work, into training, is a big job in itself. But supporting business to create new jobs, to create more opportunities, is even more difficult. So the action being taken, for example, through 9 Elms and Section 106 is a very welcome intervention, and again illustrates the need for us as the predominant public authority in the area to intervene to create that opportunity and support business in creating opportunity. And the Council must bear responsibility for ensuring that interventions like that, while on that scale would be unusual, that those sorts of interventions are not just a one-off, and that working with small and medium businesses and with other London authorities acting within the borough to promote job creation over the long term must be the hallmark of our approach to economic development. It's not enough now, and it won't be in the future, merely to signpost people to opportunity, although those interventions are important. We must work to create it by investing in local businesses and local people, in infrastructure and in growth for the long term. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Thank you for the clarification of your experience. Council Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I sort of said to Councillor Johnson earlier, when we were both outside momentarily, that this is a debate where we're in danger of agreeing with each other. In fact, Councillor Carpenter's speech made me think that I was too rash in thinking that we were going to agree with each other. Because the emphasis he puts on the debate is very different from ours. Councillor Cuff was absolutely right that there is enormous growth and enormous regeneration opportunities across the borough, and actually the best is yet to come. There are huge opportunities for our young people. Our approach is to try and capitalize those opportunities for our young people. Our approach is to skill them up, train them up, make sure they have a sound education, kind of increasing good standards at school, so that Councillor Tracy works very hard to deliver, means that our young people are going to be well prepared for those opportunities. The FE colleges, we want to work with them to make sure that the young people actually understand what the opportunities are, what sort of skills are in demand, what sort of skills are going to be rewarded for the future. And let's also for a moment not just concentrate on young people, because there are people who are losing a current job, need reskilling in order to take on another employment. And we do need to make sure that those people don't fall through various provisions. But let me also go back to today's unemployment figures. You know, the Chancellor and the Prime Minister had said that this government would create 1 million jobs through the private sector. And in fact, today's figures show that they've done that. And all these jobs have come largely from the private sector. So the private sector will deliver the jobs. Our job is to make sure that our young people have their eyes open and they grab the opportunities that emerge on their doorstep. Let's also go back and remember that from the very beginning in Nine Elms, this council had concentrated on providing job opportunities. The very early planning approvals for Battersea Power Station had at the core of it a skills training and apprenticeship program for our young people. Greater emphasis was put on that because we knew that the hinterland around Battersea Power Station had pockets of unemployment and welfare dependency, and we wanted that particular development to produce opportunities for them. 30 years late maybe, but it is now delivering, and we are determined that our young people and our older people get those opportunities. It's also important to actually say to young people and others that there are jobs that are not only jobs in construction, but there are jobs in maintaining what is built. There are jobs in the end product that the construction industry will deliver. Can I also just tie in that the supply chain work that we're doing is linking up big contractors and big employers with SME businesses in the borough to make sure that there are sort of linkages where our small and medium-sized enterprises can benefit from some of the regeneration opportunities that are opening up in the borough. What we also need to tackle is what Councillor Johnson earlier mentioned about sort of the people thinking it's waste of time and energy to go looking for a job. The kind of example that Councillor Madden raised. It is not a waste of time and energy to go and look for a job. It is not a waste of time and energy to go and prepare for the job. And again, we want to tackle that, both harnessing the strengths of the voluntary organisation in providing mentoring support for young people so that they actually understand what it is that they need to do when they go for a job interview, how they need to prepare, how they need to present themselves, and how they need to clinch that opportunity. Mr. Mayor, this is an extremely exciting opportunity for our residents. Huge opportunities opening up within our borough, and it is quite right that this council does the kind of marriage brokerage between those who don't have a job and those who are providing the job. And just to end, the 23rd of October, first road show in Queenstown, going elsewhere, not ignoring the pockets elsewhere, not ignoring the pockets in Tooting as well as in Latchmere and Roehampton. This road show will go around the borough. And what is interesting on 23rd is the morning will concentrate on young students, school pupils, being told what it is that is available on the doorstep, how to provide for it. They will go through a kind of a mock apprenticeship, apprentice program type of session, and then in the afternoon there will be contractors, developers and others saying these are the jobs and how do you access them. Huge, huge opportunities, Mr. Mayor, and just echo the work that's done by, and support the work that's done by EDO and everybody else. Actually, it's just not just EDO. There are others making sure that these opportunities are there for all. Mr. Mayor, I beg to move.
Thank you, Leader. There's a sense of agreement here. This is for information. Can both sides support this as information? Thank you for that.